Hey y'all, it's Renegayde, and it's time to spill my Reali-Tea on all things RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars 10. We're still in the midst of the Tournament of All-Stars, so make sure you like and subscribe for more, as you're not going to want to miss a single drop of content this season. On this podcast, it's officially time to be reintroduced to our third and final group of 6 queens, as the purple bracket partners off to compete in the Wickedly Good Design Challenge as we get our first taste of what to expect from this new round. And I'm not so sure I like what I'm tasting here, but we can get into that in just a little bit after I introduce our co-caster. And his money gun doesn't work this season either. It's QuackrrJack. Jack, gotta ask, due to the format of this show, we're kind of getting a palate cleanse here with we get to our purple bracket. Are you liking the change of energy in comparison to what we got with that cutthroat pink bracket, or are you kind of like me and feeling something's up here?
I do like that we're getting a different energy shift, but I'm not sure that I'm necessarily liking the energy. I'm hoping things change within the second episode of this bracket. I really want something more, something else to see. I'm hoping we get, I don't know, some drama or at least something that shakes it up so everything doesn't become as predictable, right? And I think that's a thing that every fan of the show can probably relate to at this point.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've seen those memes where it's like this could have been an email for this bracket, and it's like almost true. Like literally based on how and just how they're editing it alone, it feels like they're pretty much showing us who is going to be moving forward here. It's eh, I, I don't like that. I don't mind the kumbaya energy that we're going back to it, but it does, I think, show a weakness maybe in the format, and maybe I don't understand why they couldn't restructure things or put certain groups here and there, but um, uh, eh. We'll kind of see. Hopefully things will get better here moving forward. Especially just because there was I feel like a lot of shenanigans that kind of got pulled in this episode. But let's kind of talk about how things started here first, and then we can kind of get to where it ended here and talk about that. Um, and even though it really doesn't matter, let's go ahead and we can start with breaking down the highlighted connections with this group. We kind of see right off the bat that Acid Betty and Cynthia Lee Fontaine are happy to be reunited from season 8 because Acid is worried she doesn't really know anybody. She was right by Cynthia's side during her cancer treatment, so it seems like these two are going to be very supportive of each other. And while not many people know her, Alyssa Hunter does have some instant storylines given her cultural connection with Cynthia, as they're both Puerto Rican, but also to her season 14 sister, because as she clearly points out throughout the episode, Alyssa thinks that Daya is a bitch. So, it's kind of funny, and it kind of feels like one of these one-way rivalries because Daya literally says that she didn't get to spend too much time with Alyssa since she left early. We don't really get to see too much of where Denali or Ginger kind of fall, but they do make sure to highlight a lot that Ginger is back again and hoping that her third time is the charm. And by that we mean her third time on All Stars, which is crazy because she's literally been on the U.S. franchise at this point more than Jujubee has, because at least one of hers was an international one, right? I gotta be say here as well. I'm instantly worried that Denali has no storyline whatsoever, other than she's gay and her ass. Especially because she's a queen that needs redemption. But kind of right away, it makes it seem that Ginger is going to be a very big point of contention as far as just her being out in the front, whereas Alyssa might be trying to, force a storyline here or there. But honestly, none of this was very exciting to me at all whatsoever. Jack, did you have any question or did any comment on how these connections kind of formed?
No, I don't think there's any question on any of that. I do think two things I need to really highlight is that I've seen a lot of people complain specifically about the lack of culture or the lack of specifically black contestants in this group. And though I think that is a fair assessment to say that we could have at least one black queen in this group, right? I think it's unfair to some of the queens, especially all of our Puerto Rican and Latina queens that we have in this group, as they are constantly overlooked and treated poorly by not only the fans but also the production, it seems. So I don't think it's fair for people to make that whole joke of this could have been email and stuff. I think it's really unfair to them because they're not really the problem.
I wouldn't say
And
it's
so
an
I just
email because of that part. I think they're saying it's an email because things are, like you said earlier, predictable.
yes, but those comments go hand in hand, and I've seen a lot of them under the same thing of, like this could have been an email. There's no talent here. Why am I watching? I think that's a little unfair to a lot of our queens. I know I'm not saying that like anyone has to be your fave. I mean, you know me. I talk my shit. I don't like Cynthia Lee Fontaine that much. She doesn't do anything for me. But even I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna watch even if Cynthia Lee Fontaine's here. Which like I get it. People don't like her. I don't either. I just think it's like give the girls a chance to show their goods. But I think the other thing is the Acid Betty thing, where people kind of were like, "Why is she here? She sucks." Blah blah. I don't know. This group seemed to have gotten a lot of hate early on, and partially because of I think the predictableness or the outcome that we assume we're going to get here. But I think it's worth a note of like us trying to really stick it through and like give them a chance to see if they got anything special because I gotta say of all the things that happened this first episode, I think we can all agree as a collective that this first episode actually showed that everyone here is in a comparable level to some extent because no one did bad in the design challenge, in my opinion at least.
I'd agree. I think it kind of just comes down to what you're looking for and kind of what your justifications are for the challenge. Which, um, before we get into that, I kind of want to just comment on what you said there as well, because I do kind of like the fact that there is a situation here where we do have a lot of Puerto Rican representation. Like, you don't really see that very often here. So I don't really see any issue with how they separated the brackets. Like, we had the melanin group in group one, like,
Hmm.
just in honest, there's just not that many black queens that were cast this season at all. Like, were there
Correct.
any in pink bracket? No, I don't remember that. Like, it's just like, just because, um, for example, we're getting maybe more
And
Puerto Rican
Carrie Goldie just doesn't
representations.
count to you.
Oh, my apologies. I totally forgot about Carrie. Just like the judges.
Yeah, yeah, I was gonna say just like the judges, damn.
But I mean, like, we also had like Georges and Mistress, right?
Hmm.
So it's like there is a lot of Latin representation here, which is a good thing. Like, you don't really get a whole lot of that, and I think that since it's
I
been
don't.
since MTV has taken over, I've noticed since it has been something I feel like they really tried to feature a lot, and I don't think, especially in this climate, it's a bad thing. I think the more representation you have for other cultures, especially those that aren't typically from the United States, is good. Like, it shows different stories, and that's what the United States is, based off of, is, the melting pot. So I don't know if it's necessarily a situation where the culture of the queens plays a role into anything other than maybe that how the judges are going to perceive them, and I think that kind of played a role in this episode as well here too, because it definitely feels like, maybe had this been, like, say, an actual, like Drag Race Mexico, for example, and we're giving these kind of presentations here, the judging panel might be more receptive towards the use, or the expanded use of Spanish. Whereas I don't know if Rue or it even knows Spanish. So it's like it is a situation where it's like you do have to also look at who the judges are and what their expectations are, or what their pre-made
She
notions
made
are of
Cha Cha
production.
bitch, and that was it.
Was there even any Spanish in that? Was Cha Cha the the most she went?
I, I think. I mean, I think there was some Spanish in it, but not from her. I mean, I could be wrong. I didn't listen to the song. I just heard the chorus on the
Yeah, it's been so long since I've heard
show. I
like
wouldn't I
show,
wouldn't be
that
listening
song
to
on the
that
show.
song.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely not on my playlist. I don't know. I mean, like, we definitely know, without trying to be too controversial, what we're trying to say here. And unfortunately, it is a product of it being RuPaul's Drag Race. So, unfortunately, Ru does get the final say. So, whether or not we want to say that things are probably heading in a certain direction because of talent, okay. But I definitely think we might be heading in a certain way just because that's the way production wants to go. Which, I don't know if I'm feeling it, but let's go ahead and we can just kind of get into it because honestly, there really isn't that much to talk about. Honestly, um, well, we can talk about guest judges. Did you like see Ariana and Cynthia Erivo in the room? Because I thought they were cute together.
I did. I had told you off of podcasts of how I had my reservations about these two together. And on the show, I actually really enjoyed them. I enjoyed seeing them in the Untucked. I felt like they were actually really good uh, guest judges and stuff. So I actually was pleasantly surprised by this.
I was
So
kind
yeah,
of
I
annoyed
was
that
extremely happy.
Ginger took over their moment and made it all about
Oh,
her.
okay, yeah.
I was like,
Yeah, a little bit. I
of
agree.
course, let's go ahead and cut to another Ginger moment while Cynthia and Ariana are here. Like, of course, of course.
She
Um,
needs more.
I
She
mean,
needs
like,
more.
at that point, it's just like, okay, like, could you force it down our throats anymore? Like, we get
Well,
it,
yes,
we
and
get it, we get it. Y'all love Ginger, okay? Um, I thought it was cute though that they were having their talk and they mentioned the ice cream thing and then all of a sudden they brought them ice cream into the workroom. I thought that
no.
was cute
Mm-mm.
until you said it was vegan ice cream and I was like, oh.
I was so mad. I was like, that's so disrespectful because you said you were bringing ice cream. That is not ice cream. I'm going to tell you straight up. I don't care if you're vegan or not. Girl, cream is not vegan. So I know there was no cream in that vegan ice cream. Therefore, it was not vegan ice cream. You can call it vegan almond, you can call it vegan soy, vegan whatever it was, but it was not ice cream. It was ice soy, ice milk, oh,
I
ice
don't know.
whatever
I've
it
never
was.
eaten it before. I'm pretty sure it probably there's no actual like taste difference, but I'm sure there might be like a quality
Yes, there
difference.
is. Yes, there is. The
Like
taste
I
is
don't know.
disgusting. The texture is bad.
I don't
All
know. I
teas.
don't. I choose to. I'm sorry if this offends anybody out there. Actually, I'm not that sorry because I like meat. So what can I
It's offending me.
say?
I'm offended. I was
Perfect.
offended by
Well,
the vegan ice cream.
it
I was so upset. That was the turning point where I
was
was
still
like,
cute
take him
though.
out.
It
I
was
was
still
like,
cute. At
cue the
least they brought them
sniper.
something.
No,
They
I was
tried, girl.
RuPaul
They
doing the
tried.
sniper girl. I was doing it. I was like, cue the sniper.
All right, well, let's go. We could just go again and get into it then, because for this week's challenge and for the runway, we get a design challenge with a bit of a twist, as they will work in teams to bring some wicked realness to the runways. Each frenemy pair will design both a good queen and a bad queen look with a little backstory. Um, I'm of two minds. I do kind of like this idea on paper, but this is Drag Race, so it's like, how are we gonna rig things instantly? It's like, okay, well, very convenient for two reasons, as Denali went home on a paired design challenge. While this also means like people that don't sew, like Ginger, are going to automatically be elevated based on the fact that they could just kind of do the comedy part, and other queens can actually sew will just do the outfits. Um, I I think I'm leaning more towards the side that I don't like this idea for an All Stars. I don't mind it
Hmm.
necessarily on a basic season, but I don't like it on All Stars because it already feels very much so. Especially when we're doing these bracket systems and the other groups didn't partner together in their situations all the time. It it's very convenient. Is all I will say. Did you enjoy it, Jack?
Well, I yes and no. There's a lot to break down, but the simple part of it becomes that this was one of those combined challenges. It wasn't just the like how the rapping roast was, right? It wasn't just the rapping roast. It was a rap performance and also a roast performance in one, right? This is now a design challenge, yes, but it's also a telling a story challenge. So now there's a narrative here that you have to sell with the outfits, with the presentation, blah blah blah, right? So now it's giving us a kind of double. You have to do both things well, or maybe one component can save you from the other kind of thing. So it becomes very difficult to judge because it does that whole drag race thing where we don't always keep the same criticisms, like how makeover challenges. She doesn't look enough like you. She looks too much like you. You know that it's always changing.
Yeah, it makes it very difficult. Again, also convenient because now it's like, well, if we want to, we could weigh one portion of it slightly better than the other one because it's like, well, okay, you came out with design looks, but let's go ahead and weigh your backstory a little bit more, which I kind of feel like is what kind of happened. Is that it went by based off of who the judges laughed at most, more so than who actually maybe made the better outfits. But at least the girls get to pick their partners. There's that. At least they're not automatically just sticking girls together like they or drawing them, quote unquote, drawing them out of like a hat or something. So
Yeah,
um,
that thing.
there was a tiny bit of drama we got here since Alyssa wants to pair with Daya initially because of the frenemy backstory that Alyssa's trying to push here. But it seems like Daya instantly kind of turns her down in favor of working with either Acid or Ginger. In fact, like everybody kind of wants to work with Acid, so that gives her kind of the pick of the litter, deciding who she wants to work with. And while she says she loves Cynthia, which is a theme here that I'm noticing, Acid
Sure, no
decides
Cynthia.
that she gets more frenemy vibes, from Denali. So those two decide to pair up. Cynthia's okay because that means she can now work with Alyssa, while Diet and Ginger come together as well as the final pair. So the girls sort of resolve it later, and everyone's happy. But do you think the girls are sleeping on Alyssa here, given no one wants to work with her, or are they all just really excited to work with Acid since she was the unexpected number one favorite? Or does any of this matter?
I think there's a couple ways you can look at this, and I think the first thing is like, yes, maybe Alyssa slept on because she was sent home second in her season, so she is now what, the worst ranked queen of the bunch essentially. And if we go off of that factor as well, we see that she is also not a sewer. She is a hot glue gunner. So the girls are a little nervous because they're like, well, you aren't able to really do one of the main components of this challenge. And, the time she went home kind of also happened to be because of the language barrier. So it, I mean, it makes this weird kind of scenario for them where they're like trying to get that little edge up in the competition by having the right partner. So I can kind of see like Acid Betty is the well-known sewer, so everyone wants to be with her. Diet Betty is a well-known sewer. People want to be with her, right? Like these two are known for making outfits specifically. And like I don't even know that any of the girls in the group do so. Maybe Denali? I don't remember. Can Denali sew?
I don't know, actually. I don't think we figured that out
I
this episode.
I think she doesn't sew because I'm pretty sure Acid said that she ended up doing a lot of the construction work on all their stuff, and she did the comedy, and Denali didn't do as much. But that's neither here nor there. That's more of a tea thing later.
Right.
So I
I
think
mean, at this
the
point,
two
it's a team
Bettys
challenge, and we have to accept that one person can do more of one part and lean on the other one. So,
right,
is what it
and when
is,
you're
y'all.
yeah, when you're looking at it, Denali was like, "Oh shit!" Like one of the sewers said they want to be with me. Yep, I'm picking her immediately. And Ginger was like, "Well, let me get my gator ass over to someone who knows something." And she's a diabetic, and her link up, which leaves Alyssa Hunter and Cynthia, both our Puerto Rican queens, together, which is a common thing we see in the show, right? Where the Puerto Rican queens are not necessarily forced to work together, but in this case, it does feel a little forced to work together. Um, and you think that
I think they
they'll
wanted to
do
work
well.
together too, honestly, just because of the cultural
Well,
connection. They
Cynthia
probably
wanted
felt
to work with
comfortable.
Alyssa.
Yeah, well, Alyssa wanted to
Ah,
work with Daya from the bat, yeah.
yeah,
But she did say that
Alyssa
she
was
did
like,
want to work
"Oh,
with. She did say she wanted to work with Cynthia, at least was her
but was
number two
that real,
choice. So
real, or was that just for
it
being
was it was
kind?"
probably for being kind, but we can't get in her brain, so we don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't know. I'm like, I don't think she wanted to specifically work with her, but I mean, we all have our preferences, right? So I can't blame
Yeah.
her either way.
I mean, it does kind of suck because they are instantly basically branded the underdogs, and they kind of talk about that. And it is very true that they kind of are kind of set up, unfortunately, in this situation. Um, and I mean, we kind of already talked about that a little bit there, but I personally don't think I have an issue with the hot glue when it comes to a design challenge. Like Ben de la Creme, I famously won the season six opening one with that really
Yep.
nice hot glued fit. So I'm like, if you can make it and make it look good, I don't see what the issue is, honestly. So do you have an issue if the things are sewed or hot glued?
I don't. I just think that it depends on the material and how you use it, and we'll get into that in a little bit, but so there are some issues that come in when you end up using a lot of like cardboard, for example, in this case, for structure when it comes to an outfit.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we can definitely get into that in one moment, just because there was a one little storyline I just kind of want to talk about as well here too, because um, Ginger and Daya, uh, they're trying to figure out which queen they want to be, right? And Ginger wants to go against Type and play the evil queen, while Daya thinks that they should save time by going with Type and not switching their preconceived personalities, right? Now,
Yeah.
obviously, we know what happens here at the end of the episode, but I want to rewind for a moment. 3 weeks ago, week 4, Mistress. Did they not give her crap for it being her signature silhouette and basically her type? So I was questioning whether or not they personally should have gone with their type. Because if it's a situation where if we're judging consistently, shouldn't they get read for having their normal silhouettes?
I mean, I don't think that this is a silhouette question personally. I wouldn't call this diabetes silhouette, but being her character, and this is the difficult part about this one, is Mistress, and I agree with you 100%. I think Mistress should have been on the top. We've talked about this before, but I think that Mistress had free range of everything, whereas they had to do a good witch, bad witch concept in this part. So there is a little bit of that, like, you have to take that in consideration. It wasn't just oh, we decided to do a theme. It was, you're forced to partner it up in a theme.
Well, if I could be honest, there were points in basically in the story where I didn't know which one was the good witch or which one was the bad witch with Ginger and Daya. So I think this might
During the
actually be
story,
a good time to kind of maybe alternate, unless there's anything you want to discuss before we hit the main stage here.
I mean, I didn't feel that way, but we can get into it on the main stage.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I know we definitely have, I think, a very difference of opinion here when it
Yeah,
comes
for
to this.
sure.
But we'll get to Jack's favorite part of the podcast here, and that's the runway. So let's get to this week's yes or mess. This week's category, as you know, obviously is the Maxi Challenge, Wickedly Good, and again, they are in pairs, bringing to the runway both a good witch and a wicked witch look. Jack, who are your standouts, and who stood out for all the wrong reasons?
Well, let's talk about it. All of the standouts happen to be, to no one's surprise, the bad witches. All of the bad witches looked better than the good witches, in my opinion. I know that there's a little controversy with that when it comes to Denali, and maybe a little bit for some people, Cynthia Lee Fontaine, but we'll get into that. I just think that top two wise, I would probably give it to um definitely okay, so definitely Diabetes, because I think Diabetes is my favorite look of the week by far. I just think there's a lot of story here that I already see. I like the cutouts of the skin we get to see of hers. I like I like how it flows. I like how she presents it. I like the story that they went with here. I think everything in her is just so good. And I think with Alyssa and Acid, the hardest part to really pick is one sewed their outfit. One's outfit is very constructed, and the hair is so beautiful and everything. But at the same time, if you get too close, you see the cardboard, right?
Mm-hmm.
But from a distance, Alyssa Hunter's is like that bitch. Up close, you're like, I like what it's doing. And Acid's is a bit more simple, but Acid and Denali, who are partnered together, both have the exact same look, just in different colors and different, I would say, shapes, but the exact same silhouette. And so that's where it kind of becomes difficult to decide a top two. But I think I would end up giving it to Alyssa Hunter just because of the creativity as my top two. But of course, they do it in
Interesting.
pairs. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I guess I agree with the pairing because my favorite outfit of the week was in the top two. So it's difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with you, but I think I give it to Acid. I think Acid has my favorite outfit for sure, without a doubt.
And
And if
that's so fair.
if we are also including the fact that they're partners and just everything about it, I will say initially, Daya did have my favorite look. In because she told a story with her look and with her movements and with everything that she was doing with the actual backstory part. And I will also echo the judges that I do think that Ginger probably was the funniest. But I will say she did rely a lot on sexual innuendos and like puns with the
Or
C.
comedy.
And I will kind of say initially it didn't bother me as much, but upon rewatch, the way she sold it to me was really distracting. Like the comedy faces and everything like that are funny on certain times when I'm just like, there's certain things I will say, especially with her story specifically. Like, okay, we could say that wind and water are diametrically opposed or whatnot, but I don't feel like they give enough to really be polar opposites, especially with the way that they kind of sold the story where it's like, oh yeah, I'm Shelly from the sea and with the seamen, and then she's like, oh yeah, I like to blow, and then like the reason why they have something in common is because they're actually twins, and then they both hate their mom. I it didn't really make any sense, honestly. If you really kind of break it down, like it really doesn't make much sense. Like the resolution kind of sounds like, okay, well, are you both evil witches then? Are you both good witches? Are you both? Like, I don't like Ginger to me was not enough. Didn't give me good witch at all personally with anything she did, how she sold it with the story. Just it for me it didn't. I think it leaned too much on comedy for me to really understand the story. I
I
so
think
is
that's fair.
and I also think she had the ugliest outfit on the stage, without a doubt. It was
If I
hideous.
can say that, but
It was hideous. It was
it is
hideous.
on the bottom three for sure.
It was hideous. I'm
It's on the
sorry.
bottom two for sure.
Um,
Sorry,
it
bottom
was.
two.
Yeah, I mean, between her and Cynthia, like we can kind of go back and forth between it, but Cynthia at least like there are certain times, maybe when she's really far away from the screen, that at least she looks good. But like, there's no point in this where I think this outfit is good at all. Like the ruching, whatever. I get that it's supposed to simulate the ocean. It doesn't look attractive. There's no sort of like shape to it, unless I mean, round is a shape. But I mean, Ginger
Well,
doesn't have any real shape to the garment at all. It's just the same kind of silhouette that she always gives. It's church lady crap. What else did I write here? Hang on, I just want to make sure that I get it all in here. I just want to make
bring
sure
it
I
in,
just want to make sure I get it all out
breathe,
here.
breathes.
Um, I the biggest thing was I just for me the synergy between the outfits, especially, did not make any sense. They're literally both blue. Like, yes, Dye has some black here and there, and Ginger has the weird, ugly fish gill fabric on her arms. But like, there's nothing about these two that are really like they again they scream more like again they're twins. Like that's what it gave me that they were twins. Like they were both kind of like maybe chaotic neutral witches. Like I don't know, like but I didn't get good witch bad witch from it at all. So sure, Ginger was the funniest. Daya looked the best, or was one of the top two. But we also have to say Daya's was literally like a jacket with a corset around it. So
Oh, that's a lie. I can't believe that.
we have to be
That
real. If we're gonna
that
be
is not
if
a
we're gonna be
jacket.
real,
And
we're gonna
if
be
we're gonna
real.
be
It was a
real,
jacket.
you
Okay,
are
sorry.
being
It was
very
a robe
fake.
with a with the corset around it.
It wasn't even a row. Oh, you're so hateful.
I'm
Oh,
not saying it doesn't look good. I'm just saying if we're gonna read other girls, we're gonna have to read. We're gonna have to read everybody. We have to be fair here. We're gonna do
I'm being
unlike the
fair.
judges, and actually be true here.
This
Because
is
like,
beautiful.
and the other thing I'm gonna say here as well too, because this is the other thing I need to bring up right now. Hang on, let me. Um,
The
um,
lies.
La Roche. Fire him immediately. Get him off this judging panel. I do not want to see him ever again. I agreed with him being there the very first time because I thought his critiques were honest and true and real. But after the crap he said about Susie 2 this season and him saying that Ginger is the best thing on that stage, he's really trying to suck up to production, isn't he? He really wants to. He needs a gig, doesn't he?
I, girl, I don't know. I don't want to speak on him specifically because I don't care enough, honestly. But
I mean, he had
maybe.
some other questionable critiques too about some of these other girls, and I'm just like, we are reaching, we are really reaching, and I'm just like, I don't, yeah, I don't know, I can't deal with Law anymore. I can't.
She's like, I've
um,
had it officially with Law Roach.
I
She's
really
my
have.
sworn friend. So Law Roach is your frenemy when you do this challenge? Is that who you're picking?
No,
Just your enemy?
because he's like he said, he's a stylist. He's not a constructionist. He's not a seamstress. He knows how to style things. He don't know how to construct nothing. So it's like, I mean, I don't know how to do either of the two. But
Well,
it's my
at least you're
podcast, and I'm
honest.
gonna talk shit if I want to.
At least you're honest.
I mean, unlike other people on that judging panel, I'm very honest. So, um,
I
yeah,
mean,
I don't know. Did you have anything you want
I
to say
have
about
to.
them? I mean, you
I
do.
have to.
I want you to defend. Give the other point of
Yes, yes. Here's something that I think is very unique about this pairing. Um, I think it's interesting that they both ended up using materials that you can see in each other's construction. Specifically, I want to point out the attachment to their arms. Both of them have this flowy tool-like fabric on their arms, and they've both gone with
view.
this
The fish gills.
aqua to yes, this aqua to navy blue, like kind of thing with all these different shades of blue and purples mixed in right with the black. And I think what's interesting is that clearly we have Diabetes with the black hair and the black feathers giving us that idea of evil, whereas Ginger has the blonde hair and that's giving us the good witch kind of thing, right? And I think it's interesting that they chose a color that is so normally known for one or the other and they used it for both. And I think that was a really big strength when I was looking at the groups and like deciding my judging. Because when I look at the other two groups, they did the simple red and blue, and surprising to nobody, the red is always the evil one, right? And that's nothing, that's no bad, that's no hate towards them. It's a very simple thing we see. Do both girls look like they gave us like technically Denali silver, but it was very bluey silver because she's ice and fire, and then we had fire and you know
What was Cynthia even supposed to be?
her name was Donna Linda Witch, and so I'm not fully sure, but she was giving us that icy blue
Okay.
kind of color
The
and
flowers
silver,
didn't make any sense with the ice, but we'll talk about that.
uh, and so here's the problem with that too is like they covered up a lot of the gluing by just putting things like that on there, and I was like, ooh. And if you actually look at the back of her petals on the side, they actually just put flowers over the glued fabric, so you didn't
It's
have to
kind of
see
amazing,
it.
actually. It's
It,
kind of
it, it
amazing.
was it was hilarious, but the fact was the flowers were towards her, and I would have loved if there had been flowers up on the petals themselves, because then it would have really given us more of this flower story instead of it just being all up in the middle randomly and spaced weirdly, in my opinion.
It feels like they
And
could, if Cynthia went green, has she gone green?
uh,
It
again,
like and went like
another
maybe like a tree. It like okay, then at least it's not like ice. But I mean, I do get what you're saying that it was like the other two doing like
I
the
think
fire ice concept
yeah,
wasn't
and
great, but I like the fact that it's very clear that they are very different. Like
I
the things you're saying are strengths to me. I don't think stood out enough for me to really say that Ginger and Daya were that different.
I just think Daya and Ginger are the only. I think Daya and Ginger are the different pair, though. Of these three pairs, they are the one that sticks out like a sore thumb because the other two groups are the exact same like color combination slash uh how you say like the opposites. Like they are complete opposites. Where these ones feel like they're opposites, but in subtle ways during their story. And it kind of reminded me more of the Wicked thing because in Wicked, the quote unquote like the Wicked Witch is actually not indeed evil, and the good witch is actually kind of more the evil one. Um,
But like
so
one's
it's
like
kind of
pink and
funny.
like normal skinned, and one's like green.
But
So
look at
like
the
it's like there's not enough difference for me
look at look at
with
Glinda
Ginger
and
and Diet for to really say that they're really opposites. I don't see it. I
I
think
don't
it's
think
a
they have to
negative
be
that
full
they went
opposites.
to like even if one went maybe like had Ginger gone a lighter blue or something, it would have and still included the other like elements that they had there. Like had she used maybe the things she used for the gills for the outfit and whatever and swap those around, I still probably would hate it, but at least it would say a difference of a little bit more good witch to me. It just I'm not reading it. It doesn't read to me.
I I think one of the big issues too is that both the other good witches went too much like good witch from the Wizard of Oz. Like if you watch the Wizard of Oz, they both kind of look like they are the good witch. You know, like they're not pink, but if you've seen the one with the blue kind of outfit, they both look like they're trying to be her. And I'm
That's why I
like,
think it kind of
"Ooh,
makes sense
that's
because the idea wasn't to
that's
be
no,
good. The
that is the
idea
exact
wasn't
thing
to
they told them
well, no,
not
the
to
idea
do."
wasn't to be well, the idea wasn't to be good. Well, what they told them was not to recreate specifically
And these two
outfits
are
from
very
those.
recreated.
No, the idea was to do their style in a witchy outfit while also being opposites. And I don't think that they copied her completely because I mean, Acid and Denali are literally wearing basically the same outfit. So we can't
And
say that they
I give
just went
them
Good Witch because then you're saying that Acid Betty copied Good Witch.
no, I'm saying that Denali and Cynthia Lee Fontaine both went for the good witch, what we've all seen in Wizard of Oz with that blue dress and everything. They look very much like they're essentially just giving us the good witch. With Acid Betty, what I liked what this group did specifically was they used roughly the exact same silhouette and made specific like styling differences. Like whereas Denali has this like shoulder that goes up over here and a plate in the front on the other side, but doesn't go as far up. So there's a lot of asymmetry here. It's the same on acids, but hers is rounded and acids are flames and they're pointed because, you know, it gives a more evil or a more like rigid, strict kind of feeling, which is what you would expect from a bad witch, right? Like it's bad witches are rarely seen as all of this puffy fabric and like beautiful and kind and stuff. They're supposed to be more stark. They're supposed to be more extra over the top. Like I think Acid alone with her makeup and everything, she pulls off this bad witch so well, just with all the stylistic choices. And when I see Denali's, I look at and I say, this is pretty basic, but also Denali and Cynthia both have the same issue where you can see a lot of the cardboard and a lot of the issues of that the padding or the lack of covering up some of the issues with their outfits kind of show up. Um, with Denali specifically, it does kind of look like a piece of fabric that ends up showing the shape of all the cardboard and her padding underneath, and it creates these lines on the outfit that are hard to look past, which is kind of what like these two groups specifically really brought down for me. Whereas at least with Diabetes and Ginger's group, I was like, you know, I kind of disagree with you where I can see the shape in Ginger. It's just she is pretty round in the midsection, but we can't get rid of that. But there is a separation where we see bigger up top, a little bit cinched in the middle, and then like her more so round at the bottom, right? And I saw her really playing up the character, which again, I know you talked about that. I agree that this is kind of an issue, but I think this goes back to the challenge is not just a design challenge as much as I wanted it to just be a design challenge. They made it about a story, and the other two groups had very rough stories. Like Cynthia and Alyssa's story didn't go over well, and then a chancla came out of nowhere. But did it look like Cynthia was going to have a chancla in this outfit? No. And so like their story had no sense. And then Denali and Acid Betty had this great idea for a story, but you never saw the coffee thing ever really make sense with either of them. They just said, "Oh, I make ice. Oh, I heat the coffee," which is like cool, but like, what part of that would give me this other than you telling me it? And nothing. Whereas
See,
at
I
least
disagree. I
with
disagree.
well, okay, but hold
But
up.
I'll let you
With
finish.
Diabetti and Ginger, Diabetti clearly looks like she's part of the win. She's got these flowy ideas and she's drifting around. She's got feathers. Everything is very looks like it's aerodynamic. Like I get the win from her. And with Ginger, I see the material being used, the ruffles. I see the water element here. And although wind and water are not necessarily complete opposites, I don't think they have to be like the most opposite here. Nor do I know what the complete opposite of wind is because I wouldn't call it earth. But it's just their concept made more sense and actually came through with the outfits for me, unlike the others. But I want to hear what you have to say about Denali and Acid Betty's concept and how it came through for you.
Yeah, I didn't have as big of an issue with their story. I thought their story upon second watch was actually the best. It was actually really cohesive. And pretty much the way that they started out, I think, was the best part of any of the voiceovers when Acid Betty was like, in a world of whatever, like really bringing us to like not just like the movies, but bringing us to like one of those $25 like IMAX movies. Like I was feeling the sound. I was like living the moment. Like I was like, ooh, ooh. Like as far as I'm concerned, they sold it to me with the story. I thought they did a really good job. The iced coffee thing I thought was really hilarious. I think it was the funniest thing that I heard on the stage, just because again it was completely random. But if you really kind of think about it, it does make sense that it's like, hey, we hate each other, but we bond together to make money. So, as far as I'm concerned, I think it makes much more sense them having a business together and that being their backstory versus the fact that what Daya and Ginger have mommy issues. Like, I don't, I got much more good witch, bad witch from the way that Denali and Acid were selling the story more so than I did from the other group. I do agree with you completely, though. Alyssa and or in Cynthia's story was totally convoluted and made no sense. I do agree with um, oh my god, for Moscow's oh my god, Naisha. Oh my god, she's gonna kill me. She's gonna kill me. I do agree with Naisha completely. That I just think that when you're trying to do a story that you're trying to infuse your culture in, but not everybody knows the culture. I think you do have to maybe cut down on how much you're using of it. Like use a word here or there. Like when Alyssa specifically was like something in un fuego, and I was like, okay, like that makes sense when you're using one. But then there was like one total part where she was totally just talking in Spanish, and it was like I am not. I'm good with like written text Spanish, but I can't like vocally like translate that quickly. So things like that, especially like okay, if I'm saying that, like think of RuPaul. RuPaul is basically me in 60 years. Because she like 100 or 2 or something like that. So like if you think I can't hear well, think of RuPaul. RuPaul definitely can't hear. So it's like you have to. I think there's an art and a finesse to using that, and I don't think they used it correctly, unfortunately. And the only negative I would say for their outfits to me were the fact that one, again, like I said, I didn't really get ice specifically from Cynthia if that was the direction she was going. If she was going like again plant direction, maybe she should have gone green. But like I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, the hit pad um, remark from Michelle I felt was extremely reaching. The fact that she had to bring the iPad in, be like, look, we can see Denali's padding. I was like, okay, kind of garbage. And then you also hear that when Law says that Acid safety pinned her outfit, when Acid fully said that she sewed every part of it. It's like, okay, well, I just the padding didn't stick out to me as much. It didn't bother me as much as Ginger's outfit in general. So there's just for me, the most cohesive team was Acid and Denali, without a doubt.
I will say that I agree that Law Roach's comment on acid with shit. But for Denali, I could see a lot of lines in the outfit, just seeing her stand there. And maybe it wasn't as apparent when she wasn't standing on, when she wasn't just standing, like when she was moving. But when she was standing there in pictures, just like of her on the stage, or if I pause it, I can see the lines of the pads and I can see like lines. So I think that was a fair critique. I do think they should have been harsher on Ginger for it being too simple. And to be fair, not to Ginger, but to Daya. Daya did make both of those outfits, just like I'm sure Acid made pretty much both of those outfits. So I think that in that case, like maybe they shouldn't have judged it in pairs, because I don't think that Ginger was like top two of the week for the design. Like maybe she had a great story and people enjoyed that, blah blah blah. But that was not the full challenge. And I think that's where we were talking about earlier about the issues with, you know, these double challenges. Like sometimes some people are more, they find one aspect more important than the other, and it creates these issues. And maybe that's the issue with like the only 3 episodes, but trying to fit in more challenges than just three.
They're trying to go like the Canada versus the world route, where it's like, let's do Snatch Game the Rusical, and it's just like, girl, we don't need to just.
Yeah,
Can we
it did
just?
not work.
It's not. I don't think it's that hard to figure out like 6 challenges or even. I mean, like the fact that they're doing like one girl group style performance challenge, one sort of acting improv comedy challenge, and then one design challenge. I think that's the three. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's
that's how
fair.
I would do it.
I think that's fair. But then when you add all these other elements to it, it's like it's a design challenge, but let's make it comedy as well too. It's just like, okay, well, and then let's. I mean, I just feel like they're definitely throwing challenges at the girls in 3 episodes that are definitely catered to certain queens, and it
For sure.
absolutely felt that way,
We
especially
saw it in the
when we get
last
to the
two.
right. Like, I mean, you kind of feel that way, especially with like like as even though she performed like Bosco in the beginning with the rock challenge, and then
Georges.
right Georges having any sort of performance having 3 performance challenge basically, well, 2,
That was yeah.
you know, it's just like uh,
It's a
okay.
it's a hard sell for me. This format becomes a hard sell because of the limitations, and it's always going to feel like it's in some way being either rigged or being set up for people to perform well in a way, and
Hmm.
it's always going to end up with a bad taste in your mouth because of it.
Exactly, especially when you get to kind of, and what I think was the reasoning why we obviously get the win that we kind of got today. Not to say again that Daya did not deserve the win. I do think Daya definitely deserved the win. I just, if we're judging in pairs, I don't think she. I do think Ginger brings down Daya much more than Denali brings down Acid for the batting. That's just where I kind of feel. Um, but again, the reason why I think we get again the Ginger win is the lip sync is going to be the original Wicked recording of Defying Gravity, and let's be real, Ginger sold the fuck out of this lip sync. Like, I mean, Dia did as well too. Like, Dia did amazing as well too. There were points in it where I was like, okay, I would probably maybe give it to Dia, but like Ginger, like, kind of gave me goosebumps. I won't lie.
Let
Like,
me.
she did
I
so good in
need
that lip
something to
sync.
say about this. I would love to say that Ginger did great in this lip sync, and I would love to say that Diabetti did great in this lip sync. But I would have had to have seen Diabetti in this lip sync, and I got about 5 seconds of Diabetti and a whole minute of Ginger. They were like, "Diabetti, get this half of a verse that doesn't matter right now till we get to the beginning and the ending of a verse." She's like, "Here's the middle of a verse. Oh, back to Ginger." Like I didn't even get to finish my statement, and I was already back to Ginger. You know, like
Yeah.
the way that they were not giving Diabetti any screen time. And personally, I was living for Dia's interpretation of the song. I was like, "Oh, I'm feeling this," but I was like, Ginger did good, but I just feel like it was hard for me to enjoy it because they were purposely just pushing her and not giving Diabetti any screen time. Like this was a try to be fair in a lip sync challenge, like editing wise. And someone said, "Hold my beer, I'm gonna make it worse." And I was like, "You're gonna make it worse."
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Like
I think Daya did
it
really
was
well with
terrible.
like her body and the movements and the dancing, But I think where
Maybe.
things come down to, I mean, we did get to see it a little bit,
A little
but
bit, and
I feel like I
I
was
love
getting it because I
Tony
felt like I was
before.
getting, I felt like I was like, getting enough of Daya in the lip sync. We may need to go back and rewatch it again. I don't think they necessarily.
Oh,
I don't know if they edited lip sync like that. So I don't know because I was
everyone
just
I was
like I said,
watching.
I was. This was like the first time I was actually feeling Ginger. I'll be honest. I was I was very much so into the performance with both of them. I think the only thing that gave it the edge for me was the fact that it being a lip sync and the fact that Ginger's just expressions are just so expressive. It's hard to for her to kind of not, you know, sell a lip sync like kind of like a Jujubee manner. I think like Jujubee and Detox are two of the other really good lip syncers that kind of do things like that too. Dela as well too. Well, maybe not Jujubee anymore, because she hasn't won a lip sync in a hot minute. But definitely Dela and Detox are kind of known for that kind of thing, and I think Ginger really gives that well too. And I think the Broadway of it really suited Ginger a lot. And I don't know if I got the same sort of facial emotions that I wanted out of Daya, and I think part of it could have been the fact that she had her black contacts in, so it definitely made eye contact a little bit weird. And but I mean, let's be they're going to give the win to Ginger regardless because they are clearly setting this whole bracket up for Ginger to win. Um, and that's kind of just kind of how I feel.
That's how I
um,
feel.
are you with me here? Is this a setup? Are we in the middle of a setup?
I'm with you on the setup for Ginger to do well. I do think they didn't have to set it up so hard because I do think in two of the three challenges that were not the design challenge, I do think Ginger just would have had a strong chance of being in the top. But now that we see what the next challenge is and how it's also another it's a performance based challenge, now I'm like, oh, no wonder why they were pushing so hard for Ginger to be in the top this episode, because if she's not, she's definitely not going to be in the top during the performance challenge. So if you're going to give this group a performance and a design challenge, those are two of Ginger's weakest areas, right? Like,
Are we
whereas she does
sure
great in
though?
acting and
Because
comedy.
it's a country challenge, and like we
Well,
have
again, there you
Alyssa
go.
Hunter and Cynthia Lee Fontaine and Denali and Acid Betty and actually I think Diabetti could do well. But we have literally
Well, Diabetic could do well,
those other
yes.
four here as her competition, and the only one out of them that I could I mean, the person I'm actually expecting to see do the best here is Denali, even though it's country. But I do think that the fact that it is country themed does give Ginger a huge advantage here if she wants to play up comedy again. Like, and
Well,
I
again,
think
this
she
is what
could.
I
I
mean,
think
though.
it could be another setup, honestly.
Here's this is the big thing for me is it's a country song. Only three of the queens I think even have a country background per se. So I was like, that's choicey. But the people that do have the country background at least are Daya and Ginger, and I was like, that automatically makes it kind of weird because now you've got two of the girls who I think we all expected to be going moving on regardless. Now they've got an advantage to move on, kind of thing. Like, I don't think that they're doing this for Diabetti. I don't think no one thinks of Diabetti as like, Diabetti's the most country girl I know. What we do know about Diabetti is that she did come from the country kind of thing, even though she has a very different
Had they
background. So
switched Daya and put her in the rock group, maybe. But I don't
right,
think
maybe you could
necessarily it's
say,
because of the. Yeah, I
yeah,
definitely don't think it's a preference thing for Daya. I think it's just convenience.
exactly. Right. And I think here what we're seeing is this is the whole Ginger thing is what is that third challenge going to be? Because right now it feels like they're just trying to give us these ginger guarantees going on, and I think the only reason that I am kind of against this idea of Ginger going to be in the top two this week is performance just has never been her strong suit in terms of actually like being on the stage and giving us like a solid performance, in my opinion. I've always seen her as just middle of the pack and not really like great, just she's there. And I think when you look at design and performance as two of the three challenges, in a world with Ginger Minj, that is not going to make me feel good as production if I'm trying to push her. Like,
Well,
that makes me a little nervous.
we could do a end this thing off here with a real tea segment because they've actually released the episode titles for all three of the episodes here for this bracket. They released it at the start of the bracket. Actually, so we do know what that final challenge is.
Oh, really?
Would you like to know what it is?
Yes, I would. I would love to know.
Well, you'd be very happy to know that it is an improv challenge. And we are going back to actually, I think, one of the best improv challenges. So I'm kind of excited for it, but it does not help the fact that this is very clearly a Ginger Minj show here because it's going to be the Golden Bitchler. So
Oh,
basically
yes.
the Bitchler, but make them all Ben de la Creme's age, I would assume, or maybe
Okay.
the Bitchler is RuPaul and or someone of geriatric age, kind of thing. I don't know.
I
But
wasn't a fan of the Bachelor Challenge to begin with, but
I think it was one of the best improv challenges actually that we've had. Like Kennedy and Dela sold it for me. There's obviously
here's
queens that
the
kind of struggled, but I do actually kind of love the concept.
here's the problem with the Bachelor Challenge, though. From All Stars 3, they assigned them roles that they had to play, and I do think some girls got really easy roles comparatively, like Dela and Kennedy.
Did they not pick their
Like,
roles?
no, they were assigned roles. They said, "You will be playing
Oh,
this. You will be playing this," and I was like,
I didn't remember that. Okay, I mean that kind of
"Yikes!"
sucks, but like,
Yeah, so I was like, I hope they
uh,
don't do that again because I don't like. Then it's less of an improv challenge and just more of a who do we want to like help challenge in my mind. In my mind, I know that
kind of
technically
feels
anyone
like
can
they're
do.
already gonna give it to Ginger anyway.
Well, we all knew coming in that any girl who has been here more than once will almost be guaranteed to make it through the brackets. We talked about this before, and so far we have both Aja and Georges getting through. Now, Aja's case was very. They clearly were not giving any kind of extra treatment to her, but with George's, I think we can all agree that was a stunt, mama.
hmm Yeah, and I mean, like, if we're starting out like how things are here, that's what I'm just like. We have plenty of other challenges. Like, you could have literally just judged fairly and gave acid and Denali the win here because like there's two other
I don't
challenges
know.
Ginger could do well in, but
I
um,
don't. I don't like that whole grouping of pairs thing. I think they should have just gone on individuals, and then that's how it would be really fair.
I think
Because
then
I
that
think
would
we would have
be
been.
a situation where they should just not have done good witch bad witch and just done a basic design challenge like they probably should have to begin with. Because like I said, the pairs I think in this
Yeah,
format with 3 episodes, it's definitely shenanigans. Shenanigans.
it's always going to be, unfortunately.
Well, Jack, did you have any final words before as we begin our journey here into the purple bracket, or should I say the ginger colored bracket?
Well, as we continue our journey into this bracket, I see everything going as I planned it to go after looking at these queens. I think we're going to see Alyssa and Cynthia both get snobbed. We're going to see the continuation of one girl from season 14 going through and one girl not making it. Whereas this one, Alyssa Hunter, will get no help in the competition and we'll see Diabetti getting through, which, to be fair, I don't think Diabeti's getting any special treatment for her group to get through that, but we are seeing the one in one, and then we are also seeing the girl who came back who's been back multiple times is going to make it through the bracket, which means Ginger makes it through. And I think Cynthia Lee Fontaine is the obvious, always going to be in the bottom or just not that good, kind of like our Phoenix or our Nicole Page Brooks of the season in this bracket. And then we have that up in the air. Like, will it be Denali? Will it be Acid Betty? I think I'm leaning towards it's going to be Denali because I don't think that they're going to be doing anything for or wanting anything to do with Acid Betty. So I
I don't
think
know.
we
I'm the
see where
opposite. I
this is
think
going to
it could
go.
be acid. I just
Oh,
don't believe
really?
in this in Denali's edit. They've literally just shown her ass and let her say that she's gay. Like they've given her nothing, absolutely nothing. I am literally disgusted about the amount of content that they gave Denali. Like it really makes kind of piss me off. Just a little bit, honestly. The fact that they shoved Ginger down our throats and gave Denali nothing, and like at the same time too. I just I. I mean, I think you're right. Daya and Ginger, I think, are locked. Daya, not because I think they necessarily want her to go through, but because she's just gonna go through. Um, but between the other four, I don't know. I literally don't know what direction they're going because I would figure they would want Denali to go through. I don't think they're pushing Alyssa. I I don't know. I don't know what direction they're heading in. So I'm a little like I just feel like if Denali was getting through, her edit would not be as bare bones as it is. Whereas like everybody else has had more time than she has. So that she does not fit anywhere, and they're not forcing her down her throats like Ginger. I really feel like they're gonna screw Denali over again. I really feel like she's gonna be the Tina Burner of this bracket, where it's like she should have gone
Oh,
through, but she isn't because production does not like her.
well, that's another thing I think that's interesting is you bring up she's the Tina Burner of the bracket where she should have gone through because a lot of the fans seem to have been saying in the polls that they think Tina should have gone through, which I think we can all kind of agree with. But what I will say is that isn't it interesting? Each group has had a girl from 13, like we pointed out in the beginning, and now two of the girls from 13 have not made it through. And now we're on
I
our
don't
last
think
girl from
there was
13,
yeah
Denali.
I don't think that they cared because, like, look at how they're putting the brackets. Right, there's 14 has two girls each. There's one girl at least that's been there multiple times in each, and then there's other people that kind of get other connections. And then it's very clearly like if Olivia didn't have a connection to Aja or didn't have just the cultural connection with Deja, who does she initially have going in there with a story? Nobody. Same thing with Tina. If other than Mistress and they're the drama, which is drama, it's not a connection, that's drama. What does Tina have? Same here with Denali. I don't think they cast these season 13 girls with ever giving them the intention of thinking that they're gonna have a shot to move on. I really don't.
I could see Denali making it through as the only season 13 girl, as I do think she was one of the most beloved season 13 girls that did not make it to the finale of the show. But I can see your point there. I think we all kind of see that it is between her and Acid for sure, but it's just not sure of who's going to go where. And it's kind of like the other groups. We always have those at least two guaranteed, and that third spot might be up in the air. Although that first group was in no way, shape, or form
Well, can I tell
just
you the main
fine.
reason why? And it kind of hit on me again after I watched it, and maybe I have the preview that I'm kind of looking at here as well. But there's so much focus on the Cynthia Acid relationship, and I'm just like, that's got to come into play at some point, right? Like, it just feels like something about that. It just feels like they're showing us this for a reason, and I'm like,
You think that Cynthia might give Acid points so that way she is the one that makes it through at the end,
it's
potentially if there is a
possible.
tie?
It's possible.
I think it's a very a big possibility, and we'll have to see what happens. But I kind of wouldn't be upset about that because, as I've told you, I love Acid Betty, so I want to see her have that chance, and I want to see Denali have the chance too. It's just I never thought I'd see Acid Betty on my screen.
Yeah, I
Never in
mean,
a
I'm
million
not
years.
angry between Acid Bay or Denali. Like, they should have won this challenge. They should have had the points, as far as I'm concerned. That's why I'm like, that shouldn't be a situation where we're having to fight between these two. We should get them both. And I hate you, Rue, for making us pick because I really feel like that's obviously what's probably going to happen.
I hate you, bro.
Ugh, ugh. Well, I would really say this like probably much more enthusiastically if I felt this way, but I only have one ending to this podcast, so I can't wait to see how this turns out, and hopefully y'all can't either if you made it this far. And thank you so much for listening. Make sure you just drop a like, subscribe, and comment because it really helps us out here, and we would love to hear your thoughts on the season just because we would love to get some conversation going with you guys. Until next time, and on behalf of my co-caster, QuackrrJack, this is Renegayde signing out. But remember, keep spilling that tea, y'all. Bye!
Bye.